So we're day 8 post-op, and I feel like I healed too fast. This was not part of my plan. My plan was to do a live stream for like the first 10 days after getting my latest hair transplant, so I could document that whole process and show you guys what's going on. Let's do a not right by the window so you can get a little bit more realistic kind of lighting. There you go. So yeah, my idea was to document this and show everything, but I healed sort of too fast because now there's like nothing really to show. So yeah, so I've had to come up with some other subjects, and I'll just answer you guys' questions. But I do have a subject that I want to talk about today. So here's my head right here. Let me get like so it's not like shiny light. There you go. You can definitely tell a difference. I have like really thick hair. Put this down on the sides right here. I have like great donor hair. It's like super thick right there. So you can definitely tell a difference. Like if I go like this. Yeah, but anyway, but sort of the problem is that I healed up, I think, a little too fast, and now there's nothing really to show other than my shaved head. Travis says, when do you do more than one strip surgery? Do they go above, below, or can they cut around the original strip to keep it one scar? Yes, so they can cut around the original strip to keep it one scar. That's totally doable. My scars are, yeah. My surgeon who did the first 2 surgeries, I've talked about him, the guy who went literally crazy. He cut me way too low. So let me show you right here. You see that? This is way too low. You're not supposed to take hair from this part right here. So the one right here, this is the strip scar, the higher one from Dr. McGrath, from the surgery that I did with him. So this one, Dr. McGrath, this is where you're supposed to take hair from. You're not supposed to take hair from right here because this is outside the donor area. And also it can lead to more stretching and you can have a larger scar and all this kind of stuff. So yeah. But yeah, if it's done correctly, they can cut out the scar so you only have one scar. That is possible. ZHD said, too fast, sad face, why, sad. Yeah, it's just that actually I don't have anything more to like show you from my surgery because I'm kind of pretty much healed up. So I thought I would talk about something that I'm thinking about lately, and I think it's kind of important. Maybe it'll mean something to you guys, let me know. And that is the power of our own creativity. And I think in some way it could relate to hair, but it sort of just relates to life in general. So a lot of times throughout my life, I think of things that I need, sort of like tools that I need to do things. And I'll go, let's use like a microphone, for instance. There's a microphone over there. I'll think, oh man, I really need a great microphone. Like I need like a better preamp, and I need a better this and a better that. And I sort of think about these tools in my life as being necessary for me to achieve what I want. And sometimes they can be a little bit helpful, but I've realized recently that I vastly underestimate the power of my own creativity. I was listening to a podcast with Benny Blanco, and he was talking about how Kanye West was literally driving in his car, recording a vocal on his phone into the iPhone, like not a professional microphone or anything, literally into the iPhone, sending the vocal to someone, and that was going on the record, like a Kanye West platinum album recorded a vocal on an iPhone. And I think that's because, at least in that instance, he is not underestimating the power of his creativity, and his creativity is so much more powerful than the tools that he's using. So I think it even comes down to like this whole live stream thing. You know, I haven't really done that much because I thought, well, I need to get like a really good camera. It needs to be super high quality. and I need to have good lighting. I need to be in the right location, have good audio and microphones and all these sort of things. And then these past few days, I've just gone, you know what? This is gonna be tough to kind of set that up. Let me just use my iPhone. I've just got the phone. Let me just set it up there in the window, and I'll talk to you guys and just show you what's going on. And I've gotten really good response from all of you doing that. And I realized, I think I was really underestimating the power of my own creativity, of myself as a person, and instead getting hung up on the tools that I need to make it perfect, you know? So if any of you guys are thinking about starting a YouTube channel or doing anything, you know, maybe it's starting a restaurant and you're like, I need to have this certain kind of pan, and I need to have, you know, this food truck, or I need to have this kind of location, or I need to have this. And there are all these things that we sort of think about that, oh, I need to have all these things. And all those things just become obstacles in the way of our own creativity. So something that I thought I would just kind of share with you. And it's something I really realize I need to consciously think about, not letting my tools get in the way of me being creative, of not thinking I need this to do that. No, you don't need anything. You just need your own creativity. You don't need all those things to start a restaurant. You just need your creative ability to cook food and some ingredients. That's all you need. All right. So I don't know what your thing is that you want to start, but whatever it is, you don't need fancy tools. Never underestimate the power of your own creativity. All right, so let me answer some questions now about hair. All right, so it says, what about SMP on the scars? Yeah, you can get SMP on the scars. I've seen, there's this really good SMP place in Milan. Forget the name of it, but if you just look up like skin micropigmentation, Milan, Italy, it should come up. That's where it's located. And they have, from what I can tell, amazing, like world-class SMP. And I've seen them make, at least in the pictures, you know, all these scars disappear with SMP. So the other thing is, I mean, you can just use derm match as well. Now, if you had like a ton of that in your hair and you laid on a white pillow, you'd probably get some derm match on the pillow, you know, so that could be kind of tricky. But yeah, there's always a way to fix, you know, the issue. So yeah, I could get SMP if that was something that I wanted to do. Varun says, just shave it, bro. Thank you for the original idea, Varun. You are a genius. Axel says, tell us please your real progress with oral minoxidil. Does it really thicken your hair and crown area? Because I'm planning to use it with finasteride that I already use. Yeah, so I think oral minoxidil is super helpful. All the people that I know that have gotten on oral minoxidil, my two brothers, Mark and Paul, they're both on oral minoxidil and finasteride, and it's been great for their hair. They've seen massive improvement. I feel like my hair did thicken up a bit. Obviously, a lot of it was already transplanted, so I'm not going to see the same kind of difference that they saw. And I already lost like so much hair, you know, many, many years ago. But yeah, I think it'll probably help you a lot. Truck Boy says, good point, having less puts your creativity on steroids. I totally agree with you. That's something that, yeah, it's like the Edge, you know, the guitar player from U2. He's not this incredible, real guitar player, you know, like Shredder. He doesn't have all these like ridiculous abilities that somebody like a Yngwie Malmsteen or Steve Vai has. But think of how creative those guitar parts are. They're so much more memorable, probably, you know, definitely in popular music than like even a Steve Vai. Because I think he had sort of limited tools to work with. Alexander B., do you have an opinion about Dr. Rahal in Toronto? I do not have an opinion about him. I've heard his name a good amount, but I don't have any kind of strong opinion about him. Yes, you're right. S. Miller says the Edge wears a beanie to cover his bald head. Yeah, so the Edge, ever since around the Joshua Tree album, he has always worn a hat, and I've never seen the Edge without a hat. He was, you know, he wore like when I think it was it one? Still haven't found what you're looking for. He's got like the brim cap there, and then now he's worn a beanie for like the last 10 or 20 years. So I heard that he had hair transplants at some point and they didn't go well. Obviously, if he had them that many years ago, they probably wouldn't have gone well because they didn't for really anyone back then. Jake, do you have an opinion on Dr. True or Doran Clinic? I do not have an opinion on them. Why wouldn't he, with the Edge's money, get a transplant? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of guys that got hair transplants a long time ago are really scared of getting them now. And they're just kind of like, hey, I don't want to mess with this. I don't want to. I'll give you my friend. I've got a friend. I won't name him, but one of my close friends here in Nashville, he had multiple hair transplants back in the day, and they went really bad. And so he still has the scars. He shaves his head now, like totally bicks his head, but he's still got all these scars, both FUT scars and FUE scars. And it doesn't look good at all. And, but he had such a bad experience with hair transplant, and that looked so bad. I mentioned to him, I was like, man, you should get like SMP. You could actually just cover up the scars at least. And this is years ago. I think it's been at least 15 years since he had his last hair transplant or longer. And so I mentioned the SMP thing to him, and he was like, hey, David, he's like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to get I don't want anyone touching my head anymore. Like, I'm just totally done with this whole thing. So I think a lot of guys that had work done a long time ago, they just kind of are giving up at this point, so that could be the case for him. So I don't know if Bono had a hair transplant or not. That wouldn't surprise me based on the hair that I've seen from Bono of where he was and then like where he is now. I would actually be surprised if Bono didn't get a hair transplant. But even if he didn't, doesn't mean that the Edge is still not sort of like scared of that. Or could be that the Edge, we don't know what his donor hair is like. Maybe he has really bad donor hair now. He already went bald 20 years ago or more. So like his donor hair could also be really bad, and he would need to get like on Finasteride and Minoxidil and do these other things, maybe get the Zoflo exosome treatment. Like he'd need to do so much stuff to maybe even get his donor hair to the point where hair transplant was a good idea for him. So who knows, maybe he went to Bono's hair transplant doctor, and then Bono's hair transplant doctor was like, okay, you need to get on this medication, you need this and this and this. And the Edge is just like, nah, I guess I'm good. I'm just going to put on my beanie cap. That's kind of my look these days. And not everyone needs to get a hair transplant, So yeah, that's my take on the Edge and Bono. All right. Let's look at some more here. Sorry, I'm sort of always moving around here these days. All right. And yes, SMP works great on FUE as well as linear scars. Cool. FUT or Karan says FUT or FUE for higher grade of baldness. In most cases, for a higher grade of baldness, you would want to do FUT to start. And there have been a good amount of studies. Just look up, I think the guy was Shapiro is his last name, that did this study on hair transplants and basically maximizing donor hair. And so for most people, the maximum way to get the most donor hair out of your head is to do FUT first before doing FUE. Now, there are some cases where Rolandus, my friend, you guys probably watch his videos, Rolandus said that he talked to his surgeon or a surgeon that does both FUE and FUT, both very well. And they told him because he has a small head, because of the shape of his head, that FUE would actually be better for him than to start with an FUT. But that's not the case for most people. For the vast majority of people, the way to start is FUT to maximize the donor hair that you get. All right. Why can I not just like decide on a place to put this phone? All right. Sorry, guys. It's probably annoying. All right. There you go. Right. So, Travis says, the exosome video you posted with Dr. McGrath, crown, was that strictly exosome, or did he also have hair transplanted into the crown? Oh, Dr. McGrath only had the Zoflo exosome treatment done into his crown. He had no hair transplanted into his crown in that video. Or like he hasn't had any hair transplanted to his crown in many years. He just had a really good reaction to the exosome treatment. S. Miller says the Edge's hair was standing on the Live at the Red Rocks album. P says, would Bono's pubic hair transplant make his... I think he's just being a jerk. S. Miller says, Feller says FUT is the gold standard. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely benefits to FUE over FUT for sure. But yeah, if you're a pretty bald guy, FUT can be a really good way to start because you just really maximize the donor area. I've got videos, just look up David DiMuzio or Hair Loss Hope, FUT versus FUE, and we've got a few videos where we've talked about those differences and the benefits to one, both the other, and the reasons behind why FUT does a good job of maximizing the donor hair to start, because you always get FUE surgery later. Jake says, anyone you recommend in the New York City area? I do not have anyone I recommend there. I'm not saying that there isn't anyone, but I really try and stay away from the surgeon recommendations thing. I'll tell you if I know somebody is horrible, and if I know somebody is amazing, I'll tell you, but otherwise I really try and like to stay away from that because it's kind of dangerous, you know? I don't want to be responsible for who does your surgery, really, unless I know that they're awesome, you know? And I probably best know that if they've done surgery on me personally. Kelly says, I can't find anyone in South Dakota who can get FUT. I would have to travel to get mine done by the same people you had it done by. That's the only way I will do it. Yeah, so Kelly, the thing is that if you have a great surgeon, I'll talk about Dr. McGrath since he's done both the FUT and FUE surgery for me. In both of those cases, when he did both those surgeries, I felt great the next day. So if you have the right surgeon do surgery on you, you'll feel pretty good right away. And so, yeah, I would just travel. I don't understand the thing about not traveling, that a lot of guys are like, I really don't want to go to any other city. I'm not going to any other state or whatever. We're only talking about, like, you know, a night or two in a hotel. I think 3 nights if you just want to be super on the safe side. It's not really that much. And a lot of surgeons have like kind of a travel allowance or whatever that they'll put in. So, or some do anyway. Regardless, to get like the best doctor who's gonna kill it on your hairline and like give you a great job, I think flying, especially if it's like within your same country. Flying, yeah, overseas, it might be a little more difficult. Like after an FUT surgery and flying, 10 hours, well, not just 10 hours, like 10 hours in one flight and then probably other flights. I mean, that could be a little bit more taxing. But if the surgery is done well, it's really not that big a deal as far as the way you feel afterwards, and you should be able to travel. All right. What year did you have your first hair transplant? Illy says, I don't remember. Or I do. Yeah, I don't know the year off the top of my head. So I'd have to go back and like look at emails and stuff like that. But I don't know off the top of my head. It was about 10 years ago. 9-10 years ago or so. Yeah, about that time. About 9 or 10 years ago. Does being on TRT or HRT affect hair transplant, even being on finasteride and oral minoxidil? That's a great question. I've never been on testosterone replacement therapy. I've never taken it. So I don't know from personal experience. But I've actually, Dodge is, he works at Dr. McGrath's office. He's like an expert on all that stuff. So I'm going to do a video with him next time I'm down there because I have gotten a few questions about that. And he's super knowledgeable. He is, he's not a doctor, but he's like kind of like right below a doctor. It's a, what do they call that? Physician's assistant, I think it is. and he specializes in testosterone replacement therapy and sort of supplements and all that sort of thing. S. Miller says, if you could only pick one hair transplant surgeon, who would it be? Absolutely, it would be Dr. McGrath. That's who I would pick because I know him super well and I think he's a great person. And I know he's a great person, and he does great surgery. He's done both FUT and FUE surgeries on me. And though this one hasn't grown out yet, I can already tell that it's going to be awesome. So yeah, I feel just super confident about him both as a surgeon and as a person. So for sure, he is who I would pick. So Kay says, question, I only realized yesterday Regenipure doctor is 1%. Can I get your thoughts on this? I am not an expert when it comes to all of that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not the guy to answer that question, Kay. That sounds pretty complicated. You need somebody who's like really an expert on drugs. And that, I mean, even for them, that sounds kind of complicated. I don't know who's going to answer that question for you. Karen, any doctor from India? The only doctor I even know of who's in India that I personally know of is Darling Bud's clinic. So I don't have a doctor recommendation in India. The guy from Darling Bud's clinic he seems like a really nice guy. So, and I think they've got some pretty good results. So I think he's probably worth looking into if you're in India. What do you think about having a hair transplant in Turkey? I think there's probably some good clinics in Turkey for sure, but seems like there's way more bad ones. I would want to feel super confident about that. I used to live in the Philippines and I've traveled to 97 countries. So I'm quite familiar with spending time in other countries. I've also lived in China as well. And I've also been to Turkey actually multiple times. I've been to Ephesus as well and Kusadasi, and I've been to Istanbul, and I would need to feel super, super confident in someone, like super confident to get my surgery done in a foreign country. Yeah, because I know like the lack of regulations and things. I mean, I know that from my experience with doctors in the Philippines, just with like normal kinds of doctors. And if things go wrong, you don't have like really much of any recourse, and it's a foreign country. And like, yeah, I'm not saying that I shouldn't or I wouldn't. I know a friend who got a surgery in the Philippines and it turned out really good. So I think that surgeon probably is great. So I'd consider going to him if I was going to have a surgery in the Philippines. But I would need to like feel very confident, like in that way where it's like, okay, I know the surgeon. I've seen my friends work. Like, I know some other celebrities in the Philippines that have had work done by that guy. So like, I feel pretty confident in that. But if it was just like, I saw something online with a couple good results, like I don't think I'd fly to that country and just go like, cut me up. All right, answer a couple more questions and I'm going to sign off. David, do you have to pay all of the money up front or can you pay in installments? Gavin's asking that. I don't know about that, Gavin. You would need to ask your surgeon. Hi, I'm from Bangladesh. I've been following you for the last 8 years. Wow, thank you so much. I am 2797. I appreciate you following along. And Kay says, nice. I think I'm following you 6 years plus. Wow, thanks, Kay. Well, I hope, my experience has been helpful for you. C says, I'm having my hair transplant on July 12th at HMR in Tijuana, Mexico. I can't wait. Awesome. Yeah, please let us know how it goes. C, and good luck. And congrats on making that step. All right. Nicholas says, does finasteride grow hair back or only stabilize? It can grow hair back. Yes, it can. It does different things in different people. Some people take finasteride and it like grows a ton of hair back. It's night and day difference. And then other people take it and it just stabilizes it, or it just like kind of stabilizes it, like slows it down. So everyone reacts a bit different to it. how many Norwood levels could you reverse from a Norwood 5 on just finasteride alone? Yeah, again, my answer is just that it totally depends on you and your genes and how you react to it. So there's no way. I've seen guys go from like Norwood 5 to like a Norwood 1 or 2 from just finasteride and oral minoxidil. I've seen that happen, but that's not everyone for sure. All right. Can I do a hair transplant on the scars of my scalp? Yes, you can. You can do a hair transplant into scars on your scalp, but transplanting into scar tissue is more difficult, and it can work, but it doesn't always work the first time. Sometimes it actually can take 2 transplants to like get the blood flowing in scar tissue. So yeah, it's not a guarantee when transplanting into scar tissue that you will actually grow hairs, especially the first time you try and transplant into it. Karan says, Dr. Body doesn't do FUT. Yeah, so that could be trouble. So it's tricky, man. Because I know it really just depends on your level of baldness and also what you're expecting to achieve, you know? So if you just kind of need a hairline, you know, and a little bit more hair, like you just need to look a little better than you are now and you'd be cool with that, then you might be fine with just going with FUE. But if you're really wanting to have like a pretty full looking head of hair and you're already quite bald, you know, Norwood 5 plus, Norwood 6, 7, whatever, Norwood 5, Norwood 6, you know, then it might not be the best thing for you to do to start off with a FUE surgery. And also, you need to also figure out how you react to finasteride and minoxidil as well. So if you have a really good reaction to that, maybe that changes your Norwood level and you could then be okay with just starting off with a FUE. So yeah, you kind of needs to go in steps. Travis says, does scalp laxity exercises, do scalp laxity exercises for FUT work? I cannot tell you that definitively, but I'm going to go with my personal belief, and I'm not going to say that this is right, is that I don't think that it makes a big enough difference to matter. Scalp laxity exercises. I don't think. I think we're kind of born with the skin that we have, and it's going to sort of stretch as it wants to, you know? So I wouldn't worry about doing scalp laxity exercises personally, but again, I'm not a doctor. That's just my opinion. Gavin says, let's get with like maybe 3 more questions. We got actually a lot. Let's get like 3 more questions, and then I'm going to sign off so I can get to working on some music. Gavin says, was debating having a hair transplant in Osmed in Turkey, but wasn't confident enough, so instead got in touch with Dr. McGrath, got to wait till I'm 25, and more than likely going to go ahead with it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's like a good example, Gavin, of that. I'm assuming you've had a consultation with Dr. McGrath, and he gave you advice, it sounds like, on waiting. Can you fill in just a little bit more, Gavin, on that? That's what it sounds like from reading your comment, but I don't know the whole story. Can you kind of let us know what that story is? But because I think that's a kind of a good example of why I would shy away from especially your first hair transplant and sort of, especially your first hair transplant of flying to another country to start off with. I think I would consider it more for your second hair transplant once you sort of have things a little bit more well-defined. The reason is that your first one could really put you in a bad place, I think, more so. Because the first one, it's very important that you get the right consultation with a great transplant surgeon that's going to help you with a great plan, getting you on medication, giving you advice as to whether FUT or FUE would be better for you. Hopefully they do both kinds of surgeries so you can get that advice in a more non-biased way. And yeah, and then also hairline design. You want to make sure that that's like a really top surgeon for your first surgery, because that's going to be a lot of what how your hairline is designed. So you need like a real artistic eye for that. So that's why, especially that first surgery, I'd be a little bit more careful about flying to another country because you're already there. You're already there. So now you're going to get a transplant, and it's going to be the kind that they do, whatever that is. And by the time you're there, no matter what medication you aren't on, they're probably going to go ahead and do the hair transplant because you're there. You know what I mean? You've already flown to another country. So, yeah. And then also the hairline design, like, now if you feel very confident in that surgeon in that other country and their work, and they have a long-standing, incredible reputation and all this sort of thing, then yeah, you'll probably still be okay. But it's like, there's just a little bit more variables in the beginning of that. King Mike says, I need the whole top. Travis says, why not get SMP in your scars while your head is shaved? The scars don't really bother me, Travis. Yeah, I'm going to grow my hair out anyway, so you're not going to see the scars. So, yeah, and I don't know. Doesn't feel that necessary to me. I'd have to find a good SMP place to go to, take a couple days of my time, and my hair's already going to look like great. It's going to look the way that I want, I think, anyway. So I don't feel like the SMP is probably necessary for me now. Yeah. But I could. Illy says, Rob English answered your question. Okay, cool. Oh, he answered one of the questions. That's great. Looks real dense. It's going to be great, PD says. What hair they use for the temples? I don't know what they use for the temples. I think just normal, like, yeah, just one hair grafts. I don't think it was really nape hair. I don't think they went specifically for nape hair on the temples. All right, couple more questions. How do you get oral minoxidil? Here in Canada, it's almost impossible to find a doctor who will prescribe it. Yeah, so I'm lucky because Dr. McGrath has a pharmacy that he's not affiliated with. It's actually illegal for him to be affiliated with a pharmacy in that sort of way. But he has a pharmacy that compounds oral minoxidil and finasteride as a compound for his patients. So I just got on that pill, and almost all of his patients are on that pill, but he doesn't get any kind of money from that pill. He just prescribes it. Congrats, Michael, on heading over to get your hair transplant with filler and Bloxam. Keep us posted how it goes. Gavin says, yeah, I had a call with Dr. McGrath, and I'm 23 currently. Every clinic I got in touch with in Turkey had no problem doing it, but Dr. McGrath gave me some advice, and we talked about waiting till I'm 25. Yeah, so cool. Thank you for filling that in, Gavin. So that's the thing, is that someone like Dr. McGrath and other ethical surgeons, they're thinking about the success of every hair transplant that they do. So Dr. McGrath doesn't want to, he turns away about 85% of the business of people that walk in his office or call him and say, I want you to do my hair transplant. About 85%, he tells them either no or not now. And that's because he only wants to do surgery on people that are going to get a good result. He finds that very important, and like, he really takes his job as a doctor seriously, and someone who's going to take care of patients. And he actually used to work in the emergency room. That's where he spent years working in emergency room. So that's where he comes from, is that sort of like more of like a taking care of people kind of place. And so yeah, that's why it's so important, I think, to have a consultation with somebody like that, because yeah, you would have flown to Turkey, gotten something done, and you might have ended up in a place, I think there's probably a really good chance that you would, that end up in a place where you're unhappy a few years from now. So yeah, obviously Dr. McGrath, for whatever reasons you guys discussed, told you that you're better off waiting. Like, it would be in your best interest. Michael says, your hairline's money. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's going to be even way better now. Like, it just looks super natural. Just the way that it's sort of staggered and everything. At this point, like, I don't think I wouldn't even know myself that this is a transplanted hairline. It's so well done. All right, last question. And thank you everyone for showing up and saying hi. And it's been really fun. I'm kind of addicted to doing these for you guys since we've done it now 8 days in a row. Does topical finasteride have the same effect as oral? Nicholas asks. No, it does not. It does not have the same effect as oral. Topical finasteride is effective. It can be very effective, but anything that you take orally, or from what I understand, definitely with minoxidil and finasteride, both of them, taking them orally you're going to get a stronger effect than using them topically. So yeah, but if you can't do the oral finasteride, then I think that the topical is definitely a good way to go, and it definitely does work for sure. Topical finasteride is helpful. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. Nice to see you here, and Matthew, and Michael. And I will see you guys real soon. Just leave comments in any of the other videos if you want me to answer them. Any more questions? And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. See you later.